And I was in my 20s and I didn't know a lot of wealthy people. So they wouldn't hire me.
Hi, I'm Bill Sheng, your host of Meet Entrepreneurs, where I will take you to see some extraordinary entrepreneurs and to hear them tell their own stories. Our guest today is Marc Bernstein, an entrepreneur and financial consultant specializing in helping people accomplish their financial goals. His unique ability lies in developing strategies to solve complex personal and business financial issues. Marc is the author of the book, The Fiscal Therapy, which explains a unique method and process to advisors in gaining a greater understanding of their clients and to tailor plans and implement programs for their clients. Hi, Marc. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Bill.
Marc, I heard you studied music in college, and then you went on to a law school. How did you end up by pursuing a financial advisor or financial consultant business?
Well, like you said, I started as a music student. I wanted to be a rock and roll star at that time, so I was pursuing music. And then I got the idea that I ought to have a backup plan. So I went to law school so that I would become an entertainment lawyer. So I'd have some of the business side. After a few years in the music business, it was in the early 80s, and it was at a time when the music business was on its back. There were a number of issues. And I sort of saw the underbelly of the business that I didn't like. So I decided I wanted to do something else. And as a lawyer, I had always wanted to help people. But in the bit of practice that I did, I felt that, sometimes lawyers are deal killers. I felt like there was a lot of, the training wasn't really so much to help people, it was to generate billing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to find something that would really help people. And I had a brother who was in the insurance business at the time, and he said, hey, you ought to check out this new field of financial planning. Mm-hmm. So I went to an interview for attorneys that they wanted to be financial planners, and I was very interested, and they would not hire me. And the reason they wouldn't hire me is because they gave you a test that was like a marketing test. They wanted to know who my markets were. And I was in my 20s and I didn't know a lot of wealthy people. So they wouldn't hire me. They wanted me today, at 60 instead of, at 28 or whatever I was. Right. And so they wouldn't hire me. But looking back on that, like adversity, what entrepreneurs all face adversity. And looking back on that, they did me a big favor because I sort of had to figure out the financial planning piece of it myself. And I went to the school of hard knocks, trying to figure that out. And I learned a lot more than had I kind of gone straight into it. Plus, they were probably right. I probably didn't have the right markets to be successful at that time. So that's something that happened over time while I was in the business. So
interesting. Marc, so you have been working as a financial consultant for 30 plus years, right?
Correct.
So let me ask you this. What makes somebody a good financial advisor? How do we choose a financial advisor as a consumer?
Well, in my opinion, you should pick somebody that has a good, strong process and that isn't there just to sell you a product. Mm-hmm. And nothing wrong with financial products. There's nothing wrong with people that sell them. But if you really want to develop a financial plan, you want somebody where the plan is going to come first before there's any discussion of product. And in my book, which is called The Fiscal Therapy Solution 1.0, I talk about that, the importance of process over product. There's lots of good products out there. The real thing is, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your hopes, dreams, desires? So in interviewing people, I would start with that. Are they asking you the kind of questions that really try to get to know you and understand you, especially as an entrepreneur? Entrepreneurs have unique needs. Yeah. And, that would be the first thing that I would look for. If they're not doing that, they probably have something in mind to sell you, and I would move on to the next person.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. A lot of advisors are there to sell you something, right? But
Right.
you are talking about we need a planning process. You work together with your clients or prospects on a lot of things. It's a journey that you travel together with them. Is that correct?
In fact, I like the way you put it. We say that we partner with them to help them achieve their goals and dreams and their future reality. That's really
Great,
what I'm trying to do. So I do consider myself a partner to them in getting there.
great, great, great. Mark, what do you enjoy the most as a financial consultant? Is there any particular moment that gets you really excited in working with your clients?
I guess the best part of the financial planning is when we get to the implementation. So
Mhm.
once we've agreed upon a plan, we get to work on helping them, you know, put their plans into action. And we have something in the plan that we call a roadmap.
Mhm.
MAP stands for Money Action Plan. And they decide who the team needs to be for each step of the way and when they want to have it done, which helps them prioritize it. And as we check those things off the list, and I see them getting closer to whatever they're seeking, whether it's peace of mind or a different vision for their business or financial security for their family, whatever it is, that's what gets me excited when I know that they're that much closer to their vision of the reality.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Good, good, good. Now, what challenges you have experienced as a financial consultant, and how did you manage these challenges?
Well, so early on, before I really had a process that I helped create that I really believed in, there was pressure to sell product.
Yeah.
And so I didn't like that. Secondly, as an entrepreneur, I'll say more because I've always pretty much worked for myself in some form or another. So as an entrepreneur, the other challenge is people.
Hmm.
People that you surround yourself with are both a strength or liability. So
Yeah.
learning how to select the right kind of people with the unique abilities, the things that I can't do myself,
Hmm.
was a challenge at first. But once I started to figure that out and I could find complementary people, today I have 3 partners with complementary skills on staff.
Hmm.
And once I figured that out, it makes the business a lot easier. So getting there was challenging.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I agree. Uh, Mark, I heard you wrote a book called The Fiscal Therapy Solution.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, in the book you talked about like physical therapy model. So
Yeah.
what is the model? How does it work?
Well, so the book, I'll tell you about the book and I'll tell you about the model.
Okay.
So the book is intended to give, you asked the question before about how do you select a financial advisor?
Yeah.
And I said someone with a process. So we describe our process as sort of a model for what that you can look for. It might not be the
Yeah.
exact same process, but something like that
Mm-hmm.
should be looking for. I put the book in terms of, it's a funny metaphor, fiscal therapist as opposed to a physical therapist. So I use the physical therapist or a doctor's office as like a
Yeah.
model. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look through the chapters of the book, which I have right here, the first chapter is what brought you here.
Mm-hmm.
Something like what a doctor would ask you.
Yeah.
I want to find out why they're interested in going on this journey. Two
Mm-hmm.
is getting to know you.
Yeah.
A good doctor, I have a concierge doctor, and the doctor spends a lot of time getting to know their patients first before they know anything about their health. Let's have a look. That's like an examination that a doctor would do.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do is, if there's things you need to improve about your health or you have a disease that needs to be treated, whatever it is, there's a diagnosis and a prognosis. What do you need to do? And then this won't hurt a bit. That's something you imagine a doctor might say
Yeah.
when they give you a shot or whatever it is. And for us, this won't hurt a bit is the implementation, which I mentioned before.
Yeah.
The implementation of the plan. And then typically my concierge doctor says, see you in 3 months or 3 months, 6 months or a year, whatever it is. And we say, see you in 3 months for the review. And then we're constant reviewing to see what changed and updating them on how their plan is progressing and how their investments are doing, et cetera. So, so it's written in that model. The other thing that describes the process in the book is something I learned very early on in the business, which was, I mentioned products or process versus products.
Yeah.
When I first started in the business, they showed me a financial planning pyramid. Most people have probably seen something like this, you know, it's like a pyramid.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, it will have cash, and then it'll have money market, then it'll have mutual funds, and then it'll have stocks and bond stocks, and it'll go up, you know, by the product. And I remember being taught that. And I also had the company where I first started my career, they wanted me to sell life insurance. Well, my peers were 28, 29 years old, like I was.
Yeah.
Many of them weren't married. And I was like, why do they need life insurance? And what I realized after a while, I should be selling them, if I'm selling them anything, disability insurance to protect their income, because that was their greatest asset. But the company that I worked for didn't sell disability insurance. So it was, you know, it was not really promoted. So that, and then I thought about the pyramid they showed me, and I said, you know, it really doesn't make any sense. How do you know they need any products at all? So over the years, I created my own pyramid. So instead of it starting at the bottom with cash and going up by the risk of the product, it starts with protection, then it says savings and debt, then it has growth, then it has income, then it has legacy.
I see.
And when I think of it, that's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's like Bernstein's hierarchy of financial needs, you know, and it, you know, it to me, that's the proper way to think about that hierarchy. And it's not always exactly in that order. It depends where people are. Some people want to start talking about their legacy right away. Other people want to start talking about savings right away, whatever it is. But we still need to know that those things at the bottom are covered, because if they're not, you know, like for instance, if you're a young person and you can't work anymore due to an accident or an illness or something like that, versus, you know, whatever savings you had in your 401k, you had a bad few months in the market, you know, the loss of the income is going to hurt you much more than what's going to happen in the market. You have a long time to heal from that. You may never heal from the loss of income. So it's important that you follow kind of that hierarchy, and we make sure the other things are protected before we go on to the next stages. So that's a little bit different. The last thing that I'll just mention in the book that is part of our process is I ask a lot of questions, not only about people's future goals and their vision, but also about their relationship with money. Because, and I've had some interesting stories over time where people, you know, if I get them talking about it, sometimes they can just talk for a half hour, an hour about it.
Yeah.
I have some very wealthy clients as an example. One recently told me he will not order sides in restaurants because, you know, he just can't see paying $10 for a side of a vegetable or something like that.
I see.
And he's finally, we've talked a lot. He's kind of gotten through that. He understands he can afford the vegetable, but you know, or options. He deliberates for days on end about options on a car. You know, like, should I get the power? You know, not the power windows. Everyone has power windows now, but should I get the upgraded upholstery? Should I not? And it's not really. He can't get himself to spend the extra money, even though it's nowhere near an affordability issue for him. So, but everyone's got something about money. I think in America, especially a very puritanical society when it comes to talking about money. You can go to a movie. We used to go to the movies a lot. Now you watch them streaming, and you could learn everything you want to know about someone's sex life, as an example. But very rarely do they talk about money and their financial position. Only recently are there a couple shows, Billions, and they're usually about very wealthy people or very poor people. But you don't really hear average people or entrepreneurs talking about money and the challenges they face and things like that. So, and as a result, I just interviewed a new couple, a young couple yesterday that wants to take us on as a planner. And I didn't even ask the question. And she said, I want to tell you something about our relationship with money. And she said, I've always had a difficult relationship with it. My family, you didn't talk about it. And that's very common in America. People just don't talk about money. So now, of course, and she's married and has a child and in her 30s, and she's just acknowledging for the first time that she really doesn't know anything about money because it's never been talked about. So she's looking for some education. So I think it's really important to have conversations also about people's, because everyone has a relationship with money. It could be a good one, a bad one. It could be many different things, but that's going to tell you somehow about the things you may have to overcome in order to accomplish your goals and you know, what you'd like to see for the future. Yes. So that's a quick overview of the book and some of the contents of the book and what it's all about.
Thank you. Money is a part of our life, right? So, right. You know, no matter you like it or you do not like it, it's part of life. Just like a technology, cellular phone today, right?
Well, it's funny you say that because, you know, some people say, you know, you've heard the expression, money is the root of all evil, right? And well, that comes supposedly from a biblical expression, and that's not the quote. The real quote is the love of money is the root of all evil. And that's a big difference in those two things. And money's not an evil thing. It's just if you love it too much, that can become greed, and then that can become evil. Yeah. I have some funny quotes in the book, but one of the quotes, you know, people's thoughts about money is another way of looking at it, said it really should be the lack of money is the root of all evil, you know, because life can be difficult without it. So, so it is, you know, people have some funny perceptions of money, and, you know, what I try to do is to, you know, have them think about just being open to money as like a possibility, because it's a vehicle to having the kind of life that you want to have and the kind of legacy you'd like to leave, you know.
Money is not the root of the evil. Love money is not the root of the evil. The greedy is not the evil of the root of the evil is how you manage them. Well, that's how I put it, right? So, Mark, before I let you go, I do want to ask you whether you have any advices to young entrepreneurs, young financial advisors. Any thoughts?
Well, for young financial advisors, I have maybe two different thoughts for financial advisors or entrepreneurs. But for young financial advisors, I would start by, you know, make sure you're true to yourself. You know, if somebody wants you to sell something, you don't think it's the right thing, don't do it. If you know, find your path, I would advise them to develop their own process. I was just in a study group the last few days, and I was with 20 other people, and every single one of them had a different process, but they all had some process. So they're just not out hawking products, as far as I can tell. And I think that, so, you know, find a process that works, because that's what your future clients will deserve. In terms of entrepreneurs, you know, you hear this all the time, but I think it's, you know, go out and fail, because you learn way more from your failures than you often do your successes. And I mentioned earlier, I went kind of to the school of hard knocks in partnerships and in creating companies and in, you know, finding a good process that works. And those, I look back, those are the most memorable things, because that's where I learned the most, and I accelerated the most in terms of where I wanted to go in the future. So you hear it all the time, but don't be afraid to fail.
I agree with you. I'm an entrepreneur myself. So learn from your failures, right? Failure is okay, but you have to learn from your failures.
Absolutely, exactly.
Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your stories. And I wish you good luck with your business. See you soon.
My pleasure, Bill. Thank you so much for having me, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your stories today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of Meet Entrepreneurs. This program is brought to you by ENTRISE, a unique online platform for global entrepreneurs to connect and conduct business together. To learn more about Mark and his business, simply sign up on ENTRISE. If you are an entrepreneur interested in telling your stories, you may reach out to me on ENTRISE. Thank you, and hope to see you in our next episode soon.